Story 1. This incident occurred about 3 weeks ago when I asked my friend, who is now my girlfriend, out on a date. The cast includes me, my girlfriend, an entitled mother, and a helpful father. Backstory: I'm 17 years old and play hockey. I wasn't aware that some people perceive hockey players as aggressive and unintelligent, but unfortunately, this was the case here. I had known this girl for 2 years and finally decided to make my move, leading to the event that unfolded. I asked my girlfriend out on a date without seeking her parents' permission, which I probably should have done, but I didn't. We went to a nice outdoor restaurant due to the ongoing health concerns, and we sat down to enjoy our time together. What I didn't realize was that my girlfriend had a tracking app on her phone that her family uses for safety. While I had no issue with that, I had assumed she would inform her parents about our outing. After about 20 minutes, a familiar silver car arrived. I had met her parents before but didn't know them well. I didn't expect any issues, but I was wrong. Her parents got out of the car and found us. The entitled mother stormed up to our table while the helpful father stayed back, looking a bit worried about what was about to happen. "What is this? Why didn't you tell us you were leaving?" the entitled mother demanded. I should mention that she isn't your typical entitled mother. She had black hair and light brown eyes and was a very attractive woman, though that doesn't really matter. My girlfriend responded, "I'm having lunch with my friend." "Why do you ask? And how did you know I was here?" The entitled mother explained that she had tracked my girlfriend's phone, which made my girlfriend a bit flustered. "And who is this?" the entitled mother asked, glaring at me. I stood up, extended my hand, and introduced myself. "Hi, Mrs. Girlfriend's last name. I'm my name. I think we've met before." She reluctantly shook my hand and replied in a snarky tone, "Yes, I know we have." The helpful father then approached, shook my hand with a smile, and greeted me. I had brought my bag from the high school hockey team to the restaurant, as I take it everywhere I go. The entitled mother noticed it and said, "You play hockey. Hockey players are disgusting." I was a bit taken aback by her bluntness. "Mom, please," my girlfriend exclaimed, putting her head in her hands. "This isn't a date, is it?" the entitled mother asked. "Yes, ma'am, it is," I replied, and immediately regretted it. "You're going out with a boy we don't even know well," she snarled at my girlfriend. By this time, many diners had started noticing the commotion. "I can't have his violent behavior near you. Let's go. We're gonna have a long talk," she commanded. My girlfriend was furious and retorted, "Mom, why can't you just leave me alone?" The entitled mother seemed startled by her daughter's outburst, as she wasn't used to being talked back to like that. I noticed the helpful father looked embarrassed and just wanted to leave. He glanced at me and mouthed, "Sorry," to which I nodded in understanding. The entitled mother was trying to pull my girlfriend out of her seat when, finally, the helpful father intervened. "Hey, enough. She's still young and needs to explore what the future holds." I don't remember his exact words, so I filled this in. The entitled mother gasped, looking like a deer caught in the headlights. Without control, she felt powerless, and she knew it. She was about to lash out at the helpful father when he sternly said, "Now," and gave my girlfriend a hug. The entitled mother stood there, frozen. The helpful father shook my hand, apologized, and began walking to their car. The entitled mother glared at me and my girlfriend as she walked away. In the weeks following this incident, my girlfriend and I have continued to meet up. So far, I haven't had to face her mother again, although I did meet with her father to clarify and explain our dating situation. Story 2. My mother has terminal cancer, and due to financial constraints, she decided to move in with me and my family. As soon as my mother arrived, we visited my lawyer and completed her will and power of attorney. She made it clear that she does not want life support and has a do not resuscitate order in place. My aunt, my mother's sister, decided to call me, and the conversation got interesting. "Aunt. Hi, my name. I wanted to see how your mother is doing because she doesn't tell me anything." Me. "She's doing well, same as always." Aunt. "Well, have you two discussed her final wishes?" Me. "Yes, it's all taken care of. What is it that you need?" Aunt. "Well, when the time comes, can you call me so I can get a flight to be with her as she passes?" Me. "When the time comes, I will notify everyone." Aunt, okay, well, make sure you do everything you can so I can be with her. Me, what do you mean? Like life support. She has a do not resuscitate order and doesn't want that. But as soon as it's close, I will make phone calls. Hopefully, everyone can make it. Aunt, I don't think you understand me. If she is passing, you need to put her on life support so I can be with her. You are the power of attorney, and once she is in that state, she won't know the difference. Dumbfounded by what she said, I responded, no, that's not how it works. It's already on file with the hospital and doctors, signed and legalized. Even if I wanted to, I can't. Aunt, you are selfish. Me, I'm pretty sure you don't understand how this works, but it's okay. We will talk when it gets close to that time. Aunt, you are the most selfish, arrogant person I have ever met. You have no idea how much I am suffering. Me, you aren't suffering, and you need to stop. My mother has terminal cancer. She is living in a constant state of pain. You live in your home, which is now paid off, with one of your sons, his girlfriend, and their 3 kids. You used my mother's home as your own, took her benefits for food, and used it for yourself and your family. You drove her car for 2 years and never had to pay for anything. It doesn't matter if I could pay her property taxes and bills. She wanted to come here to be with me and my family. She wanted to build a closer bond with her granddaughter before she died. She is choosing how she wants to die and where she wants to be buried. Why are you even calling me? Aunt, I am recording this conversation, and I will use it as proof that you are trying to kill her for the insurance money. The fact that you won't keep her alive is murder. I hung up on her before she could go completely off the rails, as she usually does. I had her on speaker the entire time, and my mom listened to the entire conversation. My mother was in shock and began crying because my aunt had always lied about me, causing a rough relationship between my mother and me. This is where it gets interesting. My aunt called my mother, sobbing. Really sobbing. She started telling her all kinds of lies about our conversation. My mother quietly listened to the blatant lies and then ended the conversation with this. Aunt's name, I was listening the whole time. My son had you on speaker. I know everything. It's a shame that you caused so much damage between my only child and me for so long. I am glad that, in the end, he still took me in. I have done so much for you, and now I see it's just jealousy because it wasn't all about you. When I die, I do not want you to come to his home. You can be at my burial in Mexico, but do not come here. He doesn't want you here, and he is too kind and empathetic toward my illness to tell you no. But I am going to say no. I'm sorry, but this will be our last conversation ever. My mother hung up and blocked her number. The best part of this is that my mother said all of this while drinking her morning coffee and eating her toast without missing a beat. Story 3. On my 18th birthday, my parents and I all got tattoos, not matching ones, and I paid for mine myself. I got one of the characters Stitch from Lilo and Stitch, playing the ukulele with the word Ohana underneath it. It's on my upper back, so it often shows a bit when I wear dresses and some shirts. It's important to note that after being assaulted when I was younger, I have always had severe anxiety about strangers and new people touching me. A couple of years ago, I was at a store with some friends when an entitled child, about 8 years old, saw my tattoo sticking out from my tank top. It was summer, so only half of it was visible. The child squealed and said, "Mommy, look, it's Stitch." We were in a gaming store, so I figured the child was talking about some merchandise. Then the entitled child said, "I want to see it." And without saying a word to me, the entitled mother pulled down the back of my tank top so her child could see my tattoo. I lost it. I turned around and smacked her hand away as tears started welling up in my eyes. "Please do not touch me again." I had to take deep breaths to keep from yelling at this woman. She looked at me like I had just heard an innocent puppy and asked, "What is wrong with you? Why would you hit me like that?" One of my friends stepped forward and said, "She hit you because you touched her without her consent. What made you think you could touch her in the first place?" The entitled mother defensively replied, "My son wanted to see her Disney tattoo, and I just wanted to let him see the rest of it." "You should have just asked," I told her as I finally caught my breath. "I love showing it off. If you had asked, I would have had my friends help with my shirt. You can't just go around touching people like that." The entitled mother looked shocked, as if she had never heard of basic decency. "I don't know why you're getting so worked up. It's not a big deal." At that point, I had had enough and didn't feel like staying there any longer, so I started walking away. But she yelled after me, "Aren't you going to let my son see your tattoo? He didn't get a good look." My friend, now angry, turned and told her, "No, she isn't. Please leave us alone now." We all walked away before she could say or do anything else. I still get upset thinking about that incident to this day. I never got over my anxiety around strangers, and honestly, she made it worse. A lot of people really need to learn how to be considerate of others. Story 4. My mom just reminded me of this. I don't remember every detail because I was 5 or 6 years old when this happened, but I do remember how disappointed the kids were afterward. So, when I was 5 or 6, back in 1997, I rode the bus to and from school. Our bus driver was an older lady named Marge, and she was a super nice lady. She didn't have kids, so I think she thought of the kids on her route as her makeshift grandkids. She got to know most of the kids who rode regularly and would give gifts on birthdays and special presents to some kids, not all, on Christmas or Hanukkah. Now, we all knew about the special presents. The older kids had told the younger ones, and it seemed like a general rule that some kids got small wrapped gifts like the size of an iPhone box, and the rest of us got candy canes. I don't remember exactly what year this event happened. I think I was in first grade because I was very aware of the special gifts, and I remember getting a Barbie doll from her on my birthday, which was just before school let out for summer break. Anyway, this happened just before Christmas break. Marge had already given special presents to the kids she always gave them to. It was after school, and we were being dropped off at the bus stop. It was raining really hard, and I was already in a grumpy mood because the wind had blown my umbrella inside out. Marge pulled up to the sidewalk and reminded us to put on our jackets and hoods, which caused her to take a few seconds to open the door. That's when this crazy entitled mother started rapping her knuckles on the door, really hard. Marge pulled the lever that opened the door, and even before it could open all the way, the entitled mother shoved the door open, stomped onto the bus, and according to my mom, shouted, "Why do you give presents to 4 kids and not to my kids?" I honestly don't remember what this woman said next. I just remember her yelling, and all of us were silent, just watching. My mom heard Marge say, "Excuse me." The entitled mother then went on a tirade, accusing Marge of favoritism and calling her a predator, which made Marge look extremely uncomfortable. My mom said Marge looked like she was shocked in a strange way. The entitled mother then asked, "Are you touching these kids? Is that it? You're a molester." That's when someone's father got on the bus and yanked that crazy woman off. I remember seeing her disappear like a magic trick, and then looking at Marge, who was crying. My sweet old bus driver was openly weeping, and it was sad and uncomfortable because at my age, I didn't know what to do. I barely talked, so I didn't know what to say, or if I should say anything to Marge. Marge allowed us to get off the bus. I kept my head down as I passed her, feeling this achy feeling in my chest. Outside, the entitled mother was yelling that it wasn't fair that only 4 kids, whose families Marge knew almost personally, got gifts for Christmas while her 2 kids only got a stupid candy cane. I do remember that part. I remember thinking, "Lady, we all got candy canes, so what?" My mom walked me home, and just as we turned the corner, a police car came up the street. Its lights weren't on. It kind of crept by, if that makes sense. My mom shook her head and said, "Can you believe that crazy woman? Is she sick in the head?" The next week, during the last week of school, we had a substitute bus driver. He stayed until February. When Marge returned, she seemed to have lost her cheerful demeanor. She didn't come off as open and sweet like before. She stopped giving gifts altogether, and she didn't get involved or ask us about our home lives or our families anymore either. She was my bus driver until I moved 3 years later. I wonder if she's still alive. That entitled mother didn't show up again after that one time. I don't think I ever met her kids or knew who they even were. But yeah, that crazy woman kind of destroyed my bus driver's spirit. Sorry it was so long. Edit. My mom and I figured out this happened when I was 6, in 1998, during first grade. Also, the last time I saw Marge was in 2001. I hope she's still alive somewhere out there and is still as nice as I remember her being. Story 5. This happened in 2006. I was in the United States Air Force and deployed individually to Iraq, not with a unit. At the end of my rotation, I also took the rotator back by myself. It was a commercial 747 flight that the military paid for to take a bunch of us to the United States. Back then, we typically wore our uniforms, even on commercial flights. The man in the seat next to me was also redeploying and was in his uniform. This was usually not a problem because Americans were typically very kind to service members in uniform in public. I can't say how it is now because that was a long time ago. We had a layover in Ramstein, Germany, and civilians began boarding. These were mostly wives, children, and other dependents of those deployed to Europe. It had to be obvious that those of us already on the plane were returning from deployment. We were in desert pattern camouflage, had glassy eyes from mental and physical fatigue, and generally smelled like burn pits. Well, this woman with a baby came right up to my seat and announced that we were in her seats. She also insisted that the other guy needed to move because she wanted to put her child there. We were both kind of bleary-eyed and just stared at her in surprise. I didn't care where I sat, but the flight attendant hurried over and said the flight was full and they couldn't reseat us. This woman shoved her ticket in the flight attendant's face and said it clearly showed my seat number on her ticket. She wanted to kick me and my seatmate off the flight. Clearly, she felt more entitled to it than we were. She flipped her luggage right in the middle of the plane and went off on the flight attendant. I stayed seated more out of shock than anything else. I had been awake for longer than I cared to think about by that point, and I wasn't reacting quickly to anything. I guess my seatmate was in the same situation because neither of us said a single word to her or moved at all. We just watched her make a fool of herself in front of all the other passengers. She ended up getting herself kicked off the flight. In all, it happened rather quickly, but it still stunned me. The trip from Iraq to my home station was already going to be several days long, and she thought nothing of trying to force me and that other man off just for her convenience. I don't know why she popped into my head today, but I can't imagine being married to someone like that.